Hi! You're probably wondering, what is this video that I clicked on? Well, it's the reason why I haven't uploaded for, the entire year. This is the podcast I've been working on this whole time. Yay! Hopefully it will last longer than the last few I've tried. So this is Who Brought the Popcorn, which follows Georgia, Josh, and I, as we just pick out movies for each other and sit and watch them and talk about it. That's the podcast. Sorry, I'm recording this at 12 in the morning, meaning the nighttime cycle. Anywho, so this is the only episode to be uploaded on the YouTube channel. The rest you could find on Spotify and hopefully iTunes if we can get that working. Should be working, hopefully. Anyway, I think that's about it. Enjoy. This is the take I'm gonna go with. And cut.
Hello and welcome to Who Brought the Popcorn. I'm Georgia.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Connor.
This week I brought the popcorn with the movie Airplane. When the passengers and crew of a jet are incapacitated due to food poisoning, a rogue pilot with a drinking problem must cooperate with his ex-girlfriend turned stewardess to bring the plane to a safe landing. As the movie's tagline states, thank God it's only a motion picture. So what are your first thoughts on Airplane?
I think that Airplane was a wacky good time. Look, if you're after a serious movie documenting a miraculous plane landing or something, then I reckon you should go watch Sully with Tom Hanks instead. But if you're into slapstick stuff, similar to Monty Python, and want to see something that resembles a very long-winded Saturday Night Live sketch, then Airplane is the movie for you.
Excellent way to sell it. Connor, what did you think of the movie?
Who's looking at that poster going, yes, a serious film.
A movie tied in a knot. The plane tied in a knot, sorry.
I thought it was fine.
Just fine?
Cool.
It kind of baffles me. I feel like it's a bit of a controversial opinion of mine, because I just thought it was fine. It had some really funny jokes in it, but, it's alright.
If you haven't seen Airplane, you should really go watch it before you listen to this podcast. Otherwise, this is your gentle reminder that we will be talking about the film in detail, so please be prepared for spoilers. So this is a parody film making fun of the abundance of disaster movies that were released in the 70s. So Connor, you said it was just fine. It wasn't great, wasn't terrible.
It's parodying in particular a 1957 film.
It is, yeah.
Zero.
You're stealing my notes before I even get a chance to say them. So it was a 1957 TV movie called 0 Hour with an exclamation mark at the end. And the three directors of Airplane did buy the rights to it, and they essentially almost directly remade it in the form of Airplane.
Smart, because that could have led to copyright issues, because I hear the script was almost identical to 0 Hour, but it was way funnier.
Yeah. The star of 0 Hour, his name is even Ted Stryker, just like in Airplane, except in 0 Hour it's Stryker with a Y, and in Airplane it's Stryker with an I. So they didn't do very much to disguise that it was a remake.
Wow.
There we go.
Yeah,
So you thought it was just fine, Connor?
It's weird because this movie feels like it really should be up my alley for me. I'm a big fan of literal jokes, visual gags, and that type of humor. And don't get me wrong, this film does have some really funny moments. I've taken notes of all the jokes I found really funny, and my favorite one being the drinking problem.
Oh, that was so good.
That made me laugh. So
How he misses his mouth every time, just pours it in his eye.
Yeah, he has a drinking problem.
Well, that's it.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a problem.
But then, I feel like, and this is not to the movie's fault, it's just the timing. Just how it was at the time and how it is now. Some of the jokes just are a bit much.
Do you have
No,
any like
instead of
specific?
laughing, I was like, ooh.
It's a
I don't know, when
very
you-
politically incorrect film. There are a lot of,
Yeah.
there's like I think a Japanese war veteran who commits harakiri, a Middle Eastern man
think,
who
yeah,
blows
the
himself
first-
up.
The
Yeah.
first suicide was the one where I was like, oh, ooh.
Yeah. There's
Oh.
jokes about.
Yeah, it was a bit. It was a bit hard to watch some of those jokes because of how politically incorrect it is, but I guess,
is.
it's all satirical and everything, and they don't mean anything by it, so...
Yeah, like, they're not, like, and, yeah, it's like, I wasn't like, oh, you can't do that. I was like, ooh, that's a bit, alright.
Well, they do,
Moving
but
on.
a lot of the disaster films made around this time, which is what this movie's making fun of, had characters like that. So they would just play into stereotypes as much as they could. And so this movie, although it is a
yeah.
little bit insensitive, I almost have to kind of forgive it for the jokes because they're doing it on
Like,
purpose.
Like, the joke I do forgive them for is because they're making, like, they're really pushing it. Was, like, the jive?
Oh,
The jive
yeah.
speak, yeah, it
Like,
was
That, no, yeah.
it was
that
actually
that
written
was good.
by those two actors. They wrote the jive speak, and then talked through it, and then it was actually used in it was an American organization. They were putting out requests for people to come and help them translate. I think it's called Ebonics, which is essentially jive speak. And people, like the ad that was circulating, used that section of the film to explain what they meant. So it did get used. But they wrote that dialogue themselves. It wasn't two white actors sitting huddled around a desk trying to play into it.
No, I did like that joke because that was very much like making fun of the stereotypes that you would see in those movies. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's a good joke and stuff. But,
Yeah, I think that's a good differentiation to make, actually. They're not making fun of the groups of people, they're making fun of people who stereotype those people.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And how when they're
Yeah.
played in films, they're very one-dimensional characters that just play into those stereotypes.
Yeah, exactly.
and in like disaster movies, they tend to just die.
Exactly, yeah. They'll be comic relief or the first one to die. They also had some jokes about pedophilia, which
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
makes some people very uncomfortable.
That
I was
that's-
uncomfortable watching that part, yeah.
oh gosh, that was so out of the blue.
It is very kind of confronting, I think, and they do it a lot. You know, it's not just the one joke. They kind of play off it a couple of times. You know, he keeps going on about, have you ever been inside a Turkish prison? Do you watch gladiator movies? And they really push it. For me, I think the fact they kept pushing it makes it very clear that they weren't joking about it seriously. I think if they'd only said it once, I would have been a lot more uncomfortable with it. It could just be that I've seen the
Yeah.
movie too many times as well. I'm just used to it.
No, I guess that's a good point, because if it was just once, you'd kind of be questioning like how
Yeah.
serious they were about it. Yeah, no, that's a good point.
And if it does make you feel better, the actor himself, he didn't want to say those jokes. He didn't think they were funny. And then supposedly at the premiere of the movie, his wife thought that scene was hilarious. So,
Huh.
so there you go. Did you have any jokes that were kind of your favorites? I cannot pick a favorite in this movie.
Oh,
I struggle.
I-
I think so much of it is so funny.
I had some favorites for sure.
Do
Oh,
tell.
like the one where Ted Stryker sits next to this to the first old lady, and like she asks him, are you nervous? And he says yes, and she says like first time, and of course she's asking if it's his first time flying, and then he goes, no, I've been nervous lots of times. I loved that joke.
It is really good.
They're classic, lots of classic dad jokes throughout this movie.
The literal humor in this film is really good. Like, there's that scene where it's like the doctor and one of the pilots is like, when can we land? And he goes, well, I don't know. He's like, well, can you make a guess? About 2 hours. Take 2 hours to make a guess.
Yeah.
That one was good too, yeah. Oh, and when Ted was asked if he wanted a smoking ticket or a non-smoking ticket, then
And
he
the
said he
guy
wanted a
got the
smoking
ticket
ticket. A literally smoking ticket. It was almost on fire.
Was it another one of the what made me laugh was the cocaine one.
Which one was that?
A guy was like, "Hey, do you want some whiskey?" And she's like, "I don't drink whiskey."
Yeah.
And
Oh,
she
yeah.
Turns
picks up,
around
like,
and
the
snorts a
thing-
couple lines of cocaine, yeah.
Oh, that was
I
funny.
And there's a couple of long-running jokes as well. There's the best example I can think of for this one when the woman starts having the eggs coming out of her mouth, and the doctor sits
Oh,
down,
yeah.
Strange.
and then he says to her, we need to get her to a hospital, and Elaine goes, a hospital? What is it? Meaning,
Yeah, that
what's wrong with her? And he says,
Yeah.
well, it's a building full of sick people, but that's not important right now. And that joke repeats with, people explaining the
Like
wrong part of their
everything, yeah.
sentence. Yeah, but that's not important right now. I love it. That gets me every time.
Oh yeah, that was very good. Oh, and just
another-
oh, sorry, you go.
Yeah, it was like another good joke was just like the baggage clan.
Mm.
Where
With
he
the
just had all
people
the
coming
bags
down.
from the outside and the people going down that made me laugh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and so many good visual ones too, like a window wiper cleaning up the plane, the front of the plane.
It's like
And then it
cleaning
pops
the
the-
plane and checking the
The
engine.
front of it,
pops the
yeah,
hood.
and then he falls down.
And then, like, my favorite of the physical jokes was when they go to get, I think, yeah, it is Stryker, and they're at his house, and while the guy's getting mauled by the dog, he's like, like looking in the mirror, and he's
Oh yeah,
tightening
the
up his
captain.
stuff, and then it's revealed it's not a mirror, and he just walks.
Yeah. He's just staring at him, watching him get mauled while he just looking at him.
That was
Yeah.
the funny. I think that was like it's like that and the drinking problem joke that I found the best of the film. Although when they're trying to land the plane and they go past the radio station, it's like where disco lives forever, and it just hits the thing and it
And
cuts.
knocks it down, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really
Yeah,
good jokes like that. Did either of you guys notice it's one of my personal favorites at the very, very start of the movie, when we haven't even met
The
any of the
speaker
characters
argument?
yet. Yeah, and it's the two people arguing. Talking
Oh
about the
yeah,
parking
over the
zone.
loudspeaker at the airport. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. And I've seen this movie with people who weren't listening and they didn't catch the joke, and I've had to rewind it 4 times and make them listen because I
Oh,
don't
they
know
didn't notice
why.
it.
They didn't. They're focusing on, and it happens with a lot of people, they focus on the people getting out of the cars and going into the airport, and they don't pay any attention to the loudspeaker announcement. Because you hear it once or twice, and
Yeah.
it's proper, and then after that, they start the joke. So if you stop paying attention, you miss the whole thing.
And
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I was like listening
Yeah.
to it, and I'm like, oh, hang on a second.
Yeah, hang on. Are they arguing? And then she goes, you just want me to get an abortion, don't you? And you're like, whoa, alright, we've taken a turn here. What's going on? That's great.
He's like, well, I think it's reasonable.
It's the
That
safest
was-
option.
that was definitely another great part about the movie, I reckon. How so much funny stuff was going on in the background.
Yeah,
So sometimes you might
pay
have to watch
attention.
it more than once to see it, or but there was so many things going on. Like when the Mayo Clinic called, and there were just tons of jars of mayo, like actual mayonnaise in the background. Or
Yeah.
the green screen behind the car as they're trying to
When they're
speed towards
driving.
the airport. Yeah, and it shows like crazy turns and like horses in the background at some point.
But yeah, because
Yeah.
it's very clear that they're using a green screen to make it look like they're driving. So they just decide why not take advantage of it and make it point blank ridiculous.
Oh, what was like it's the biggest joke. It's like probably like the most expensive joke of the film, in which like the guy's like directing the plane, and like guy also goes, oh dude, where's the like I don't remember what he's asking for. He's like, where's blah blah blah. And he goes, oh, it's just over here.
And he
points
points,
at the lights,
and the plane crashes
just
through. Yeah.
crash like that.
And-
I watched that and I'm like, that would have, jeez, that's expensive.
And everyone else in the airport acts like nothing's happened, even though planes just crashed through the window. Keep walking
Oh,
around
yeah.
like it's nobody's
Normal
business.
day-to-day stuff.
No, it is.
That-
It is a really funny movie.
Actually, yeah, that was one of the cool things about the movie as well. All of the jokes, they played it out as if this was like completely normal and completely serious.
It's just straight deadpan.
which was really cool because I actually did some more research into that, like the whole deadpan delivery of everything. And do you guys know Patton Oswalt?
No.
I recognize the name.
He's like one of my favorite comedians and actors because
Yeah, I
like
think I
he's
know
done
exactly who you're talking about.
he's done like cameos in Parks and Rec and Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Rick and Morty, I think, as well. Anyway, what he said about this movie, and I'll quote him here, he said, "Seeing the movie for the first time taught me a great lesson. You've got to play comedy as if it's deadly serious. You've got to play weirdness as if it's the most normal thing in the world." And yeah, I think that movie is a brilliant example of that, and one of the first sort of big movies that did that in like comedy films.
I think it's one of the best selling points of the film And the guys who directed
yeah.
this film, they also did did they do Top Secret? I think they did Top Secret. They did all the Naked Guns.
Secret
One
and
of them
stuff.
wrote one of the Scary Movies. One of them, I think, wrote a different Scary Movie. You know, and it's that kind of sense of humor and just those deadpan jokes that they do in a bunch of their films, and I think it's what makes them so successful. You know,
Yeah,
it's out of the ordinary, but they act like it's not, and it makes it even more bizarre.
Yeah, it was such good delivery of all the jokes, I reckon. Yeah, the actors really did a good job.
They did. It is also a credit to the directors. So like I said, there were 3 directors for this movie. The actual issue with it was the Directors Guild of America ruled that they couldn't all be credited for directing the movie. They said they weren't allowed to. So then they tried to be credited under this fictitious name of Abrahams and Zuckers. I got told no. And then there was a DGA rep on set to make sure that only Jerry Zucker spoke to the actors. So what would happen was he would direct a
What?
scene, and then he would go to a trailer where the other 2 were sitting watching live takes. They would confer and take notes, and Jerry would go back and tell the actors what they'd worked out.
Oh,
direct the
that's
scene they
such
wanted.
a slow way of directing a film.
Because they all wanted
Oh.
their input. And then eventually they
Yeah.
were told, they were given kind of one-time permission to for the 3 of them to all have rights to directing. But I think that's really
Can't
funny.
believe- Yeah, I can't believe they had such strict rules about the number of people that can direct a movie as well.
I mean, I guess they did in this. They wouldn't let them.
I mean, some of the
so
best
strange.
some of the best content is produced by 3 people at once.
This podcast. for
Oh yeah, I was waiting.
example. Not to, fluff our own feathers, but I think it's a little bit better than just 2.
Oh, I mean, I'm saying some of the best content. We may or may not be that. We'll see.
We'll see. We got a long way to go. No, but I think the 3 of them working together definitely helped make it a better film. I think when you've got the input of 3, it always just works out better. And the reason they ended up making this movie was because the 3 of them were in kind of like an acting improv type group together, and they would stay up and watch all the late night TV to find things to make fun of. And that was where they came across the TV movie that inspired this film.
That's pretty cool.
I was just looking at my notes, or the jokes I've written down, of like the ones I found really funny, and I just found that said the flashbacks pay off. And I'm like, what does that mean? I'm like, oh right. And I think it's what it meant was the 3rd guy who douses himself in gasoline and goes to light a match, but then he gets taken away to like the front of the plane to go and pilot it, and the guy sits there with the match to go and blows it out and just
And he
goes,
blows up anyway. And there he goes.
was a
And
good
of course,
payoff.
nothing happens. All sorts of things happen. We have a gynecology exam being performed in the middle of the plane for no
Oh.
apparent reason. All
I
sorts
think-
of just bizarre things go on.
The Nun was fun just to have on the plane.
Yeah.
A nun reading a magazine, Boy's Life, and a boy reading a magazine,
Nun's
Nun's
Life.
Life.
And then there's
I-
the
Sorry.
joke with the 2 little kids who act like
Yeah.
grown-ups, and he goes and he takes her coffee. And I think that is the best example of pacing I have ever seen in a film. That joke, the way it plays out, where he sits down and he offers her coffee, and she takes it, and then he goes, "Sugar?" And she goes, "No, I take it black, like my men." And it's the most amazingly paced scene, and the joke plays out so well just because of the pacing. And it's these 2 little kids that they had to be coached to get that timing perfect, but it works
Yeah.
so well.
Yeah, no, it's definitely impressive that they were able to do that with child actors. Especially if they didn't know what they were saying as well.
But you have to
Like
kind
they
of
didn't know
hope
the
they would
meaning
with some of the
behind what they
jokes.
were saying.
Yeah, it's the same as the jokes in the cockpit of the plane. The ones about the Turkish prison. You have to hope he didn't really know what was going on when they were making those jokes. I mean, he would have, when he got older, clearly, he would have watched it back and thought, oh god, what was I, what was I in? There is actually a website that I found. I won't say the name of it because it's a little bit rude, and this is a university-sponsored podcast. But they essentially sat down, there were 7 of them, and they watched the movie and they rated every single joke.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, so it came out at around 180 jokes. They counted running jokes just as one.
Way more than a
And-
joke a minute. That's
It's-
actually that's 2 jokes a minute
It's a
Roughly.
lot of jokes.
I
for an
think-
hour and a half film. Yeah,
I
90
feel
minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching a video essay on YouTube talking about like the film, and like a website had rated it like it's like the funniest film.
Well, it was the funniest
Ever?
film in the US until Ghostbusters came out.
Ooh, that's
Yeah,
that's contentious. I
that-
don't know if
that's like 4
Ghostbusters.
years.
Supposedly, it's the
I mean,
the way,
Ghostbusters was funny, but it didn't have as
The reason
many
it's-
gags as that.
I found
I
was
wouldn't
that it
say
was
that-
the fourth highest grossing movie of 1980 in the US, and that it was the highest grossing comedy in history until Ghostbusters. So it could be just that Ghostbusters was seen more often, more people paid to go and see it, and so it overtook
I
in ticket
think
sales.
that
Because
think
I
that's
definitely
probably
think
what's it.
I think Airplane's funnier for sure.
I just think they're just different like jokes. Like they're just different types of comedy.
They are different
Yeah.
types of comedy. It definitely,
that's the thing.
I definitely find it funnier than I find Ghostbusters, but that's personal preference.
Although Ghostbusters
like-
is equally enjoyable, it just
Yeah.
doesn't. Yeah, yeah.
It just doesn't quite get me the same way. But do you want to know what they ended up rating the top joke as?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I would like to know.
So what they did was they all put in a rating for each joke, and then they averaged out the rating for every joke. And through Excel, they just kind of ordered them. And then the ones that were tied, he just kind of ordered them however he felt at the time. And the top rated joke with an average rating of 9.29 out of 10 was the "You can tell me I'm a doctor" exchange. I think you were talking about it earlier, Connor. The he asks, you know, how they're going to land, and it's the "Can't you make a guess for another
Oh.
2 hours?" That was actually listed as the top rated joke.
That was good because they kept building on that joke as well.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the dialogue with that one didn't
It
just
was
stop.
very good.
Yeah.
So they ended up ranking it 4 10s, 2 9s, and a 7. So
Wow.
they clearly thought it was funny.
I think the Doctor was in some of the best scenes in this movie. Like he was such a good actor.
Yes, I like when Elaine goes round and she goes, "Sorry, excuse me, I'm sorry I have to wake you, but are you a doctor?" And he's wearing a stethoscope at the time. He goes, "That's right." Oh, it's so good. It's just written so well.
Yeah.
He's in a bunch of these films. You know,
Yeah.
he and these directors work together all the time. So it's just the right kind of comedy with just the right actor, I think.
It's because like his history of this is like his first comedy.
Well, it kind of restarted.
Yeah, this was like his breakout
career.
one,
He did like
wasn't it?
serious films
Yeah.
beforehand.
And this was
Yeah,
the
there you
girl
go.
who played Elaine. This was her kind of breakout film as well, and it really kickstarted her career and restarted a bunch of other actors' careers, which I think is pretty
Yeah.
cool.
And the guy who played the Doctor, I think his name was Leslie Nielsen or something.
Yeah.
But I read online that he was trying to be funny offset a lot as well. Did you
believe
guys
he had
see this as well? Like he brought a
he had a
portable
fart
whoopee cushion
machine?
with him wherever
Yeah.
wherever he went. And he
To
played
kinda
that while actors
keep
were
everyone-
delivering their lines.
Oh yeah. Well, he
Just-
delivered his lines too to keep everyone laughing and set the tone, which I think is great.
Yeah.
And I think it's the fact that the actors put in the same amount of work as the directors did really helps lift that film just to the next level.
Yeah,
just
it was
helps
definitely
make
a
it
big
funnier, I
group
think.
effort, yeah.
Yeah. But this.
Wait,
Oh,
wait.
no?
Oh, sorry.
go, Connor.
Go with something. I just remember what the flashbacks payoff joke actually means. But when I wrote that down is because they keep with the main character. He keeps having like PTSD flashbacks
Yeah.
till the plane's going. And in the last flashback of that he has is like a kid trying to like get in a pedal car, like just like the old fashioned like planes are just falling apart.
He
Like
does.
the Wright
It's
brothers
Yeah.
so
stuff.
good.
That was a good scene too.
And then like a paper aeroplane just careens into the ground.
There's so many good scenes, and they cover all different kinds of scenes. You know, there's Ted trying to teach the African tribe basketball, but they're all already amazing at it. And then Elaine's throwing a Tupperware party with all the women, trying to convince them, you know, to use this Tupperware to store their grains and stuff.
But no copyright. They called it Supperware.
Yeah. It's
That
so
was
good.
pretty good.
And there's the Girl Scout bar fight, where Elaine and Ted meet, and
Oh.
the two of them are throwing each other all across the bar.
Yeah.
And the dance scene where Elaine
Yeah.
and Ted meet
The
as well,
Saturday Night
where you can
Fever
see them like hooked up to the
dancing.
wires, and it's so obvious, and the over the top dance moves they're doing.
And when he's upset that she's got a partner, but then conveniently her partner gets knifed in the back, so he can just step in and take over. It is one of my favorite films. I think the only one that tops it is Top Secret. And although controversial, I think this is funnier. Top Secret just has a special place in my heart. But it is. It's, I don't know why. I've seen this movie this week watching it was probably maybe my 6th or 7th time watching this movie. I have seen it so many times, and I still found jokes that I'd not seen before, even on the 6th or 7th watch.
Wow, that is definitely saying something. That's pretty cool.
Like they had like so there are so many jokes in this film, and like the majority are really funny and really good. Which is again, I'm so surprised that I just think the film is fine. because I actually I found it interesting that like because going in I was like, oh, I'm gonna have a good time and have a laugh or something, but like when like the stakes got high, I kind of was like, oh, I hope these characters really get out of it all good.
Yeah, no, that was impressive actually. How they made you feel for such weird, out of this world characters, which was really cool.
And you still want them to succeed.
Hmm. Oh, so is that the thing that kind of let it down for you, Connor, or like what made you say it was fine and not great? Do you reckon?
I'm not entirely sure because again, like this type of film should really fit my like really funny films, and I laughed at the majority of the jokes, but like I was just like it was alright.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Just didn't
Maybe.
feel as good as you were expecting it to. Like, did you hype it up maybe in your head before watching it?
I think I've heard it a bit more hyped up a bit. Like I was expecting it to like, say like to be a bit more like a 4 out of 5, but it just turns out to be like maybe a 3.5 out of 5 for me.
Okay.
Which, it surprises me because I'm like I really like these types of jokes. Just
Look, my advice is always going to be give it another watch, give it 3 more watches, watch it until you're absolutely sick of it, and maybe you will come around, maybe you won't. I will
definitely give it another watch.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that if you sit down without any expectations and you just enjoy it, I think you'll maybe like it a bit more, especially if you're not watching it for the pressure of then talking about it in a podcast. It might help.
Maybe sitting down with like a group of friends might be better.
Yeah, potentially.
Because I sat alone and watched it.
Maybe you just need someone else to laugh at the jokes with you.
I don't know. Maybe part of that is why I enjoyed it so much, because I came into it with no expectations, because somehow I hadn't heard of Airplane at all. And then I saw certain scenes and I was like, oh, that's a meme online. Oh, that's a gif lots of people use of like Ted doing the massive sweating thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
and I had no idea it was so popular and so well received, so I came into it thinking, oh yeah, it could be alright, but I don't know. And then I watched it and I really enjoyed it because I wasn't sure what was coming.
What would you rate it out of 5, Josh? So Connor, you said it like a 3 out of 5, I think. What would you rate it, Josh?
I'd give it a solid 4, I think. So yeah, pretty high. Only thing is, like, I don't know, since they didn't exactly come up with the plot themselves, they pretty much copied the entire plot off the original, what was it called again? Zero Hour?
0 hour, yeah. With an exclamation mark, you have to shout it. 0 hour!
0 hour, yeah. And Airplane, also exclamation mark. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. And I guess they weren't really focusing as much on creating a unique plot. They were more focusing on making a really good parody, which I think it was. So yeah, not too many flaws with it. Solid 4 out of 5.
That's fair enough. No, I think the reason I enjoy it so much, because it's one of my favorite films of all time. For whatever reason, no matter how many times I see this movie, or no matter how many times I see Top Secret, the jokes always still land for me. Whereas I find with some other movies, they just don't. I get sick of the jokes. Whereas this one, I can be reciting the jokes and still have sore ribs by the end of the movie. It's one of those things of personal preference, you know. This movie just gets me. It hits me in the heart, you know, the heart and the funny bone.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool. So, are you saying, Georgia, you'd give it the full 5 out of 5? Do you reckon?
I think I'd have to.
Wow. Big rating.
Not to get controversial up in here, but maybe maybe the directors need to sponsor me for just shouting out this movie so hard.
I feel I've got the controversial thing. That's the thing.
I mean, you're not even saying it's bad though. You're saying it's fine, which is fair enough.
It's got some really good stuff in there. I just, and it should really fit like my type of stuff, but it just, I don't know.
It's just something missing.
Maybe, I guess. I don't.
Maybe you'll have to give it a rewatch, and we can address it in a later episode. You can tell us if your rating's gone up or down on a second watch.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Did you guys have anything else that you wanted to kind of talk about with this movie?
I think that, like, the only thing else I could really add is, like, I had the joke where, like, they're working on that machine. It's a washing machine. That made me laugh. And the bit where people are waiting for the plane and the plane keeps going through each gate, so it's like gate 13,
Yeah, and they have to
gate
run
14,
after
gate- That made me laugh. That one was really funny as well.
Yeah, there was so many other good jokes, I reckon, that deserve mentioning. Like, when they're talking in ground control and they're like, oh, maybe we should turn on the searchlights. And then the other guy responds, no, that's just what they'll be expecting us to do. And it's just like, what? Who'll be expecting you
good.
to do? There's no enemy.
Oh, it's so good.
That was, and another joke as well. Do you guys know how tautologies work?
No.
Vaguely, but you can explain it for everyone.
It's kind of like a grammatical thing. So where you use like two adjectives or two words to describe something, and one of them becomes kind of irrelevant because you said the first one. So
Right.
a joke in the film that Ted says is it's an entirely different type of flying
Oh yeah.
altogether. And he didn't need to say altogether because he already said it's an entirely different kind of flying. So tautologies are kind of like that classic thing, like, you know, rising up or sinking down. If something's rising, you already know it's going up. And if something's
Yeah.
sinking, you already know it's going down. And people say that all the time, and they could save themselves so many words and so many fractions of a second if they just don't say the extra descriptive word there.
And said he
So
does,
just, yeah.
and then the doctor and
Just
Elaine
fun grammar
turn around
nerd
and
stuff there.
turn around and recite his
think, like-
line all together. They
Yeah.
assumed he was instructing them, which I think is great.
The other joke I had written down was like the one where like the guy's going off to like war type thing.
Yeah.
And then like his girlfriend
She's waving to
hops
him.
on the plane and the plane's going
I
like
was
a
just
train
gonna
in
bring
the
it up,
movie.
yeah. Well, because they call out a lot of other films through different
That's-
jokes.
that's like
Yeah, lots
Yeah.
of references, yeah.
The classic romantic wartime film where he's off to war, getting on the train, and she's waving goodbye and chasing the train down the platform, except this time it's a plane, and she's running into the pillars, and they're not closing the plane door, and it's so good. And she chucks him his watch, and she goes, "But you'll
Oh,
need it,"
yeah.
and he goes, "Never mind, it's broken," and
Yeah, no, there's definitely a reason that this movie grossed, what, $158 million from $3.5 million or something like that?
it was pretty successful, yeah.
So they definitely didn't lose any money making that. Oh, and it's so successful as well. Did you guys hear that, you know, Otto, the inflatable autopilot?
He has his own
Yeah.
face.
We
so-
haven't
did
even
we
mentioned
forget?
him yet, but
Yeah.
what
I was
what
just-
a big character.
I was just going to ask what you guys thought about him. He is my least favorite part of this movie. I still laugh at the jokes, but I just, for whatever reason, he doesn't gel with me. I want
Yeah,
to know
I
what
mean-
your opinion on him was.
If Otto was a real person, I wouldn't get along with him because he is a very
little
he's
bit
not
creepy.
he's not a nice guy. He's very creepy for sure. And like what he's doing with Elaine throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, when he
that's just-
grabs her and then she has to blow him back up. Oh.
Yeah, and it's weird as well because watching the movie, I still wasn't sure if he was meant to be alive or if he was just meant to be this robot thing or just an inflatable thing that happens
He's
to
not
go in
even a
random
robot, he's
positions.
like-
Yeah.
Although when he first appeared, he made me laugh because it was the autopilot, and I'm like, okay, no, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, Otto the autopilot.
But like, I don't know. I think he's fine.
Okay. Just
He's-
like
he's
the
not
movie.
The worst. He's got the
fine.
worst joke in. He got the like. I think the nudity jokes. I was like, what is that? Why is that even?
Oh.
Random full
why-
frontal nude scene
Yeah,
where
I'm
she
like,
runs across and stands in front of
why?
the camera.
Was that also referencing another movie or something?
I think
or
it's
was
a
it
call
just
out
in there
to,
because they wanted?
They do it in a couple. It happens in a couple other movies, but then isn't there a scary movie that it happens in as well? Because two of the scary movies were written by two of these directors, and I think they reused that joke in those movies.
I haven't seen the
Interesting.
scary movies, but I want to say the ones they wrote are the first one and the fifth one.
I think they
and
wrote the
third
fourth
one,
and the
sorry.
fifth one.
Oh.
I was looking earlier today.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure I haven't seen the full movie, but I feel like if I'm remembering correctly, I could be super wrong. No one call me out if I am wrong. But I feel like there's one part where that joke gets reused, where someone who's
Oh.
completely naked stands directly in front of the camera for a couple seconds and then runs off again.
I
I think they just reused
I don't
that
know.
joke.
I mean, to be honest, I
think that
started.
was my
Oh,
least
sorry.
favourite joke. I just think that was just my least favorite joke in the film. I'm like, that's just not funny.
It's a very minimum effort joke, but it also
Yeah.
it covers all bases, you know.
And-
Good movies are supposed to have a bit of action, the plane crash, like
Yeah.
the plane potentially crashing, a bit of nudity, and that's where you get it, and then comedy.
That's one of the only things that detracted from the movie as well. Like the copied plot and also the whole minimal effort jokes. And that's probably why I didn't like Scary Movie at all. Like I started watching the first Scary Movie and I stopped it halfway through. It was just
I
over the top.
found Scary Movie a bit crude. I think with this movie,
yeah.
there are a couple of jokes that fall flat for me, and that is one of them. But I think it's difficult to make every joke appeal to every single person. So there may be some
That's
people
true.
who watch this movie who think that is the funniest thing ever. And, you know, it's not to say they don't have a good sense of kind of comedy and humor. You know, it just means they might find some of the other jokes less funny, and we find those ones less funny. And I think that's alright. It means
Yeah,
it
exactly.
appeals to a wide audience.
Yeah, the majority of the jokes I like are wordplay.
Yeah,
So-
so many good puns. in
Because
that
you're
movie.
an intellectual, is that it?
That was not what I'd say at all, because I laugh at the funny ones where the guy steps through and it's not a mirror. Ooh.
Oh, yeah. No,
Um,
I think it does appeal to most people's sense of humor.
Anyway, how did we get onto this? Oh yeah, talking about Otto and how the movie was so big. So Otto, the inflatable autopilot, he has his own Facebook page
Yeah,
that
he
you can
does.
go and check out. And you can also buy T-shirts with him on them, and you can even buy blow-up replicas of him. They're worth like a couple
hate
$100
that.
each.
I think he kind of became
hate
the like
that.
film mascot.
That's fair, because that like him being the mascot, I'm like, okay, that's fair for the film, but I don't like that you can buy a clone. That's
It's a little bit disturbing.
it's a bit much.
But yeah, and there's, I believe, don't quote me on this, I believe there are 4 Airplane movies. I've seen 1 and I've
4?
seen 2. Yeah, 1 and 2 are good.
I knew
That's
there was a second
surprising.
one. I heard
Airplane
the second
2,
one was alright.
I believe, if I am getting my movies right, features an AI gone rogue, and that's the problem in the second one. It is equally funny as the first one. I think it's quite good. I've heard Airplane 3 and 4 are not quite as good. If you were looking at kind of a movie series that went 7 or so movies long, Airplane 3 and 4 would be like the 6th and 7th of a movie
Ooh.
series. You know, where they
Airplane
start to
3
just...
and 4?
That's what I've heard. And I've heard they're not good.
Hang on, I'm just googling it. I don't know if there is.
Not necessarily direct airplane things, but as in the same idea behind
Okay.
it. But
And
Airplane 2 is
in-
definitely worth a watch.
In Airplane 2, do they bring back like all the same actors and everything?
Yeah, I think so. It's been a while since I've seen it. But I
Okay.
do think they're on a plane again, and it's run by
Yeah, they are on a plane.
Yeah, so a faulty computer causes a passenger space shuttle, there you go, to head straight for the sun. Can Ted overcome his own inadequacies in order to save and get the shuttle back on track?
What's Ted doing there this time though? Is he like a
Oh,
regular
we're gonna watch
pilot?
the sequel to
Or-
I think
find
he's
out.
piloting the shuttle.
Oh, so he's
But I
gone.
don't know if it
he's
was
changed career
directed by the
fields.
same guys. I think
Okay.
it's directed by
Airplane
different
3,
people, but they do
sequel
bring the
to
same characters back as well as some new ones.
Oh, right. There you go.
You've still got Ted and Elaine and Stephen McCroskey, and you've got Captain Over again,
Yeah,
which
that's
is a
great.
joke we haven't mentioned.
That's right,
the
Captain Over, Roger.
Over Roger and Vector.
Oh, yeah.
So Victor
that one
wants
was
our
good.
Vector and Roger.
More wordplay. Yeah, that was nice.
It's a nice little joke that you can kind of recite, and they do the same sort of thing I think in the second one, but it runs a little bit
Okay.
longer.
So, just having a quick Google, there was no Aeroplane 3 or 4.
What?
Definitely.
No
because
way.
Aeroplane 3, the sequel that never happened. That's like an article.
Oh.
Like
Okay.
Aeroplane sequels.
I think it
So they
might be
were gonna give it a go.
yeah, well, because the second one is not directed by the same guys, so it could be that someone
Okay.
picked up and wanted to make a third and fourth, and they were so terrible that they didn't. The article I just read was talking about the third and fourth ones being a little bit crap, so then I guess it's a good thing I haven't sought out them and tried to watch them.
Again, from what I can tell, they just don't seem to exist. Although I
Whoa.
would like to add that in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Japan, and the Philippines, the franchise is called Flying High.
There you go.
Ah, and I'd actually heard of Flying High before, just not Airplanes. So it's the same movie.
I guess it's
Wow.
rebranded.
Yeah, because in some cases, for some reason, movies have to change their titles in certain places.
Yeah, that is kind
Like,
of
because
weird.
I've
guess-
been meaning to buy Aeroplane for ages because it's part of, like, the JB Hi-Fi Rewind collection. It's like a Blu-ray version. It's just called Flying High, and I'm like, oh yeah, airplane.
I do have to warn
you
you,
go.
for those of you who didn't like the nudity scene, I don't know about whether or not there's a nudity scene in the second, I don't remember, but there are some close-ups of some jiggly body parts. So if you don't like those jokes, you might want to skip the start of the movie, because I think there's one of those at the very start.
Although, how the first movie started, how Airplane started, the original, I liked that opening. The whole Jaws theme to a plane
Yeah.
like gliding through the clouds and its tail like coming above the clouds, kind of like a shark
is
fin.
quite-
Oh,
Quite
That was
cleverly
nice.
done, I think.
yeah, you could tell right away that this was a satirical movie.
You know, so I think
Yeah.
overall, it's a pretty good movie. It appeals to most people's sense of humor.
And I mean, it appeals to different kinds of senses of humor at once. So yeah, you're right about it.
I'd say
Sure.
yeah, it's quite well rounded and it covers a lot of bases.
Yeah, I mean, it'd have to with what 180 jokes. Some of them
Yeah.
would have to be good.
And it shows
Yeah.
you why it was so successful, because I think all different kinds of people can find it funny.
Oh yeah. Final fun fact. I when I was researching this as well, I mean, originally I thought, oh yeah, all of the cast they chose was really good, but apparently people like David Letterman and Sigourney Weaver, like they both auditioned for like, Ted and Elaine respectively, and they didn't get in, which is pretty intense.
Yeah, I think they were very selective with their casting choices, but I think it turned out well.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely. I think they made... I'm trying to think now. I can't think of anyone that was a poor casting choice in that film.
Yeah, the cast does really well for them.
And again, like we were saying, I think the cast and the way that the actors seemed quite into it really helped boost the film as well.
Yeah, apparently...
Because if they had been able to deadpan the jokes, would have been quite terrible. But what were you gonna say?
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, apparently also Robert Hayes, the guy they got to play Stryker, was also a licensed pilot, which is cool. Guess
Yeah,
it makes
he
sense,
can-
him playing a pilot in the movie.
He can even fly the ones with 4 engines, which was
Wow.
Ted's worry that he couldn't do it.
Yeah, no, lots of cool fun facts if you guys want to Google this online as well. It's got, yeah, lots of nice backstory, this film.
Yeah, and the 3 director group have some cool history as well, and with the different things they've gone on to direct and produce as well.
Oh, sorry. Another thing before we end this, because the end is kind of reminding me of the end of the movie. Did you guys read all the credits?
No, I didn't.
I did the first time I watched. I didn't watch them this time, so you have to refresh my memory.
Oh, there were gags in the credits as well. Like, it was really cool. Like, one of the credits was literally, you know how they normally say, what's an example of a normal credit?
Well,
My
they'd
mind's
say,
gone
you know,
blank.
Executive producer.
Yeah, well, they
Yeah.
might list the best boy and the
Yes,
makeup
yeah,
team
gaffer
stuff
and
like that.
all that. Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
why I forgot literally every role that's involved in a film for a second. But anyway, instead of doing like, gaffer, what's his face, they had some credits interspersed throughout the real credits. They were like, generally in charge of a lot of things, Mike
Yeah.
Finnell. Author of A Tale of Two Cities, Charles Dickens.
Yeah, why not
And
make
then-
it fun?
And then, the whole big copyright spiel they do at the end of most films' credits?
Yeah.
Yeah, in this one, they say unauthorized duplication, distribution, or exhibition may result in civil liability or criminal prosecution. So there. I thought that was, oh, man, that was kind of nice how they put like things in the credits. And then they
Yeah.
had that after credits scene of the taxi driver still waiting.
Still
For-
waiting for his
for
taxi
Ted to
driver
return.
come back.
That was another good joke.
And the fee was up to what, like $30,000 or something, because the ticker was still going.
Still waiting. Still sitting there waiting. I think they do the same sort of thing in the top secret credits. I don't want to promise you anything in case I'm wrong, but I've seen it with a couple different things where they'll insert kind of gag credits into the end, and it means that in almost every movie I watch, I'll stay behind if it's a comedy just in case they've done it as well. 'Cause I think that's one of the best things as well. You know, the jokes don't end when the movie finishes.
Yeah, no, it was funny right up until the end, which was really good.
So final ratings, they're staying the same. We've not changed our mind. Everyone got the genre right. So
Yep. I'm gonna stick with 4 stars. Yep.
And I'm gonna stick with 3 out of 5.
that's fair enough. I'm still going to give it my 5 out of 5. It's close to my heart. you'd have to tear that rating away from me for me to ever change my mind.
There we go.
It's
3,
probably-
4,
Fair
and
enough.
5. So average
Yeah.
of 4 stars. Good movie.
Yeah, so you should, if you haven't seen this movie, I don't know, A, why you listened to this podcast without seeing the movie, but B,
Oh,
go and
it's
watch
okay.
it.
If you like spoilers, it's okay to listen to the episodes.
Yeah. I mean, this one was kind of just us reciting jokes from the movie, so it might make
And
a bit of
even
sense
if you
to
listen
go
to
watch it in
this-
context.
And even if you listen to this and then go and watch it, we still haven't covered probably half the jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got what 30 out of the 180.
There's
So
still lots to go and
really,
enjoy.
not a lot has been given away.
Yeah.
We didn't even say what happened in the end.
We've not even covered the plot, really. So,
Yeah,
you've still
I
got a
mean,
whole
it's
movie to go
basically
watch.
the plot of 0 Hour.
So if you've seen that, maybe it'll be ruined for you. But if by chance you haven't seen that 1957 TV movie, which is rather unlikely, you can still go and enjoy Airplane.
Yeah, although I think even people who've seen 0 Hour, that might make it more enjoyable for them because they know what all the jokes are
maybe.
referencing.
Yeah, well, 0 Hour was, I believe, a serious movie, and this is just point blank making fun of it. So maybe if you really liked 0 Hour and you have seen it, you'll love something that makes fun of it.
Or if you really hate Airplane and wish it was more serious, watch 0 Hour.
Go watch 0 Hour. Look, it's a double whammy movie recommendation.
That's right. Isn't it time for recommendations? Have we
It
got any other
sure
recommendations?
is.
Watched anything good since we last talked?
One of the films that I've watched, we might cover it eventually. It's called Hercules Returns.
Oh, nice.
No.
I don't. It's an Australian film. I think in my review of it, because I use Letterboxd and I review stuff there. So if you want to check out my Letterboxd account,
Oh,
Shameless self-promo.
nice plug.
I think you could look me up under the name What's His Face, and I'll probably be the only one there. So that's probably me. But I think I described the movie as it's like if Australia's Funniest Home Videos did an anime abridged.
Wow.
That's a pretty good... Now I kind of want to go watch it.
But swap out anime with the 1964 Italian film Hercules, and swap out Australia's Funniest Home Videos with 3 people trying to make a cinema, and that's the plot of the film.
A little confused and a little intrigued, so if you don't choose it for a movie, I may have to go watch it anyway.
It is one of the weirdest films I've ever seen.
Well, that's exactly what this
Yeah,
podcast
weird can
is
either
for.
be very good or very bad.
Yeah, depending how it's done.
Well, for my recommendation, the other day I watched Looper for the first time. Have either of you guys seen that?
Ooh,
I've not.
that is a Ryan Johnson film.
Yeah. Sci-fi movie. And, yeah, it's based in, like, a dystopic future. And these assassins get people sent to them from the future to their time period, and they kill them then so that it leaves no trace and that type of thing. Anyway, a bunch of stuff happens. One of these assassins meets his older self. His older self is
never
played
good.
by... his older self is
Bruce
played by
Willis.
Bruce Willis, yep. And his
Yeah.
younger self is played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And
Okay.
it was cool how much they made Joseph Gordon-Levitt look like a younger version of Bruce Willis. Like, they dyed his eyebrows and they
Oh.
put contact lenses in him and stuff like that.
Oh,
and
wow.
Commitment right there.
it was very interesting. And anyway, Bruce Willis was sent back to be killed by his younger self, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, which created this whole big awkward situation and lots of, prophecies of doom and stuff. Not exactly
Looking
like
at each
that,
other. Oh,
but
this is a bit awkward. Ooh.
A little bit tense, a little bit awkward.
No.
And hijinks ensue.
it was a really good movie. I definitely recommend giving it a watch. I'm still not sure if I love the movie or not, just because of the ending. But I'm not going to talk about the ending for spoiler
I've
reasons.
been meaning to watch it for a while.
Yeah, no, definitely give it a watch because
I'll have to
it's
put it on the list because I've not seen it.
it's a very very interesting movie. Good concept.
That sounds good. I mean, the only recommendation I have, I finished watching Tiger King. It's not a movie, it's a TV show, it's a documentary, so I don't know if it counts, but I really enjoyed it.
Counts.
recommend
I
it.
mean, yeah, we can recommend anything in this recommendation section. I reckon, even
I
non-TV
recommend
or
the app
film related.
Letterboxd.
Did we recommend learning a language last time? So I think
I recommend subscribing to QUT Hype.
just listen to more of our podcast, please. Sorry, I don't know what it was. You know, my recommendations would be watch Tiger King, and make yourself a breakfast burrito. I did that this morning and started my day off fantastically.
Breakfast
So
burritos are pretty amazing. I would
It was
agree.
really good. Spiced up my tomatoes and everything. It was fantastic. So those are my 2 recommendations.
So, what are all our recommendations put together? We got Looper, we got breakfast burritos, Tiger
Breakfast
King,
burrito.
and
And
what was
Hercules Returns.
Yes. Fantastic. So check all of that stuff out, or not. It's up to you. They're just recommendations.
But no, if you're really curious about the breakfast burrito, I'll make a secret podcast and not tell anyone else. And I'll put it up. And it's just me telling you how to make the perfect breakfast burrito.
It's not really secret if people know.
Go on then, ruin my secret breakfast burrito podcast idea. Alright. Fun
You're
police.
not invited now.
You're just jealous it's going to be the most listened to podcast of ours. It's me telling people how to make a breakfast burrito.
For 26 episodes.
And that concludes this week's episode of Who Brought the Popcorn. I've been Georgia.
I'm Josh. Wait, you said I've been Georgia. Are you not still Georgia?
God. And thank God it's only a podcast. We will see you guys next week.
Wait, what about Connor? We didn't say.
Enjoy! Goodbye!